A call instruction, which stands for absolute call, and call instructions are used to transfer the program control to the subroutine program. And remember, the subroutine program, you can consider it as functions. Okay, like in uh, C programming, we used to call with the name function, or sometimes it is also called with the name procedures, right? So here in assembly program language, we call it with the name subroutine. Now, subroutine can be of user-defined subroutine or system-defined subroutine, right? So, what is systems-defined subroutine? We used to call ISR, interrupt service routine. Okay, and the program or the function or the subroutine, if as a programmer, if I am writing, then it is a generally called as subroutine only, not ISR. So you must able to differentiate between user subroutine and ISR subroutine. Okay, interrupt service routine. So interrupt service routine, who will make the program control transfer? System will make it depending upon an interrupt request. Here the user is already know when to make a call to that subroutine, right? So if user wants to make a call to the subroutine, then he can use a call instruction. Whereas for the interrupt subroutine, ISR based subroutine, then user is not going to call that subroutine. System will get call that subroutine, right? So that is why we call it as interrupt service routine. Based on the interrupt service, we are calling that subroutine. So that we will discuss more in detail when we are discussing return instruction. Okay. So how to return back from the user subroutine and the system subroutine, we are going to discuss while we study a return instruction. So user subroutine can be called with the help of a call. And why we have named this call as absolute call? Because the program control transfer from the main program to the subroutine program, how much maximum memory gap you will have? 2 KB. So your subroutine program must be available within 2 KB. Somewhere here, your subroutine program must be there, right? And if your subroutine program is above 2 KB, then you cannot call that subroutine program with the help of a call. So that is the restriction. And what happens in the a call instruction? First, it will prepare the return address. How it will prepare the return address? It will prepare the return address with the help of what? PC plus 2. Why we are adding PC plus 2? That is because this instruction is of size 2 bytes. Now, out of 2 bytes, the first 8 bit of address will be in the lower byte, and the remaining 3 bit will be here, and the 5 bits will be opcode. So the 5 bits are representing opcode, and the 11 bits are mentioned in this fashion. Okay, 8 bit here and 3 bits at the last of the second byte. So this is how an offset address is calculated, and it is mentioned within the instruction like this, and it will generate the return address where it needs to come back after executing the subroutine, and return address will be pushed onto the stack. And what is the method to push the value onto the stack? First, stack pointer will get incremented, push the lower address, again increment, push the higher address, because the program counter is a 16-bit address. So 2 times you need to push, because the width of the stack is only 8-bit. And then the offset address, that is 11-bit offset address, whatever we are mentioning in the instruction, through the label name, that will be copied into program counter register, and finally it will call the subroutine. Next is add instruction. SW register, program status word register, it is going to add the content of 2 operands. And remember, one of the operand is always accumulator, and the second operand, it changes, and it is supporting different addressing modes. If it supports immediate addressing mode, then the second operand will be immediate value. If it supports register indirect, then the second operand will be at the rate of RI, where RI can be only either R0 or R1, right? So we have available register from R0 to R7, but out of this only R0 and R1 register can be used as pointer register. So this you need to remember, only R0, R1. And the size of this instruction is 1 byte. Number of clock cycles it takes is only 1. And this is how this 8-bit is. So the first 7-bit will represent opcode. And say, for example, if I write like this, add a comma at the rate of R0, add a comma at the rate of R1. Either I can write R0 or R1. So how it will differentiate between these two instructions? Opcode will be 0 0 1 0 0 1 1, and since it is R0, I value will be 0, right? The opcode in general is like this. This is I, so I will be replaced with 0. And for this instruction, add a comma at the rate of R1, then the opcode will be 1 0 1 1, and here it is 1. So this is how it will differentiate between add a comma at the rate of R0 and add a comma at the rate of R1. Is that add a comma? It also support, add instruction also support the direct addressing mode. So direct address you need to mention here, and remember for add instruction, all the status flag bits are updated: carry, auxiliary, overflow, and parity. This is how we need to mention the direct address. It also support register addressing mode, and here in the register addressing mode you can specify R0 to R7. So these are acting as register content, not as an pointer registers. Okay, so therefore you are allowed to write from R0 to R7. Now look at this encoding scheme. How to read this encoding scheme? I'm giving an example. So the general syntax is, for register addressing mode, add a comma RN, right? And what is the encoding scheme for this? In general, 0 0 1 0 1, and this is n n n, right? So now what RN can be placed? RN add a comma, it can be either R0, or it can be add a comma R1, or it can be add a comma R2. Like this you can have in this register addressing mode, these many variants will be there in add register addressing mode. So totally you have 8 such variants you have in add register addressing mode. Now how it will decode it, encode it? 0 0 1 0 1 0 0 0 will represent add a comma R0. And how it will encode add a comma R1? It will be 0 0 1 0 1 0 0 1, right? So this is why they have written in general n n n. And if it is add a comma R7, then opcode will remain same. Since it is R7, the new opcode will be 1 1 1. So this is the logic in the background encoding scheme they have used. So this is how you need to read this encoding scheme. I hope it makes sense now. Okay, so they have not given for all the combinations of the add a comma R0 till add a comma R7. 8 variants are there within this. So what they have done is, for explanation, they will write the general syntax, right? RN is not in register. RN is not in register. You need to place RN either between R0 to R7. So in general, they have mentioned 0 0 1 0 1 n n n. That is, n value will be based on what? Either 0 to 7. Next, add carry. Now what is this add carry will do? It will do same as that of add, but extra is it will also add the carry flag bit. It will also add the carry flag bit. Again, it supports immediate addressing mode, register indirect addressing mode, and so on. Okay, direct addressing mode and register addressing mode. It is very similar to that of add instruction, but only is along with carry it will add. And remember, one common mistake we do is we try to replace this add carry. Here we will write R0 comma R1. For other microcontrollers it will support, but for 8051 microcontroller, the destination operand cannot be a general purpose register. For 8051, it has to be only accumulator. Okay, so see the syntax for every instruction in add and add carry. The destination operand is always accumulator, and the addressing mode they are differentiating only based on the type of the operand 2. Operand 2, if it is registered addressing mode. Operand 2 is of type direct memory, then it is direct memory addressing mode. Like that, it will make the different variants in the add instruction. Then we have absolute jump. And what is this absolute jump means? Again, to differentiate between a call and a jump. So here also there will be a program control transfer, and in a jump also it is program control transfer. And how long it will transfer the control program? Within 2 KB of memory. Here also within 2 KB of memory, but in a call, it is going to return back to the calling program. But there will not be no return of program control. No return of the program control. So there will not be any return from the subroutine. So there is no mechanism of subroutine in the A jump. Within the program only, if you want to move your program control from one point to another point, right? So you can do it with the help of a jump instruction. Now something specific subroutine procedure or a function you have written, then you need to make use of a call instruction, because you need to return back to the calling program. So that is the meaning of a jump instruction. Now what is the operation in a jump instruction? It will calculate the address of the next instruction with the help of PC plus 2. This plus 2 based on the size of that instruction. So since it is 2 byte, and we are going to mention, since it is 2 KB range only, so 11-bit address. And how we are mentioning the 11-bit address? Through the labeling name. So we write some labels, like say for example, write the back. So back is a label. So don't write label as add. So add is already a mnemonic defined. It is a keyword. So label should be other than the keyword. So it should not represent any instruction, or you cannot represent it as move, or you should not use the label name as a call. So label should be other than the keywords. That is the idea. And again, the same 11-bit address, it is mentioned 8-bit here, and the remaining 3-bit in the higher byte of the instruction, and the 5 bits will represent the opcode. Next is logical AND operation. In logical AND operation, right? So again, the destination operand they have here in this, they have fixed as accumulator, right? So where accumulator locates in SFR, okay? And hash immediate value. And remember that data can reside either in register, data can reside in the general RAM, that is GPR, general purpose register, or this can reside in the program memory. When the data can reside in the program memory, it is through only immediate addressing mode. Along with that instruction, an immediate value will be stored in the program memory. And it is 2 byte. Now out of 2 byte, 1 byte will be reserved for what? To hold the immediate value. And since it is reserved only 8-bit, the minimum immediate value is 00H, and maximum immediate value is FFH. Beyond that, you cannot store the immediate value. And what is the operation? It will take the accumulator content, immediate value, and it will do logical AND operation. Since it is not going to generate any carry, auxiliary carry or carry flag bit and overflow flag bit, so these are not going to affect. Auxiliary carry flag bit, carry flag bit, overflow flag bit, they are not going to affect. Only parity, because the number of ones can be either result into even or odd. So that is why only parity flag bit will be affected. Similarly, we have a register indirect addressing mode. The concept remains same here, but the encoding scheme I have already explained you. The opcode 7-bit opcode, and only I will change based on either Ri is R0 or R1. Then we have in the direct addressing mode, the operation will be content of A, and it will go to the direct memory addressing mode. That direct address content, memory content, it will take that value and it will do the logical AND operation between A and that memory content whose address is specified in the instruction itself. Then register addressing mode. So here it will take register content, that is R0 to R7, and accumulator content, both the content it will do the logical AND operation. And here we have given the examples also, right? And it also supports what? Bit addressable. So here it is byte addressable. Why this address is byte addressable? If I write like this, ANL A comma 40H, right? And ANL C comma slash 40H, and ANL C comma 40H, right? Now what is this 40H? This 40H, it will consider based upon what is the destination operand. Now what is destination operand? A. What is the size of A? 8-bit. So this address is also what? Byte addressable. 8-bit address it is, right? Because we have byte addressable from 00 to 7F and 80 to FF, and bit addressable we have from 00 to 7F only, right? Now, how it will differentiate between this common byte addressing naming convention and bit addressable naming convention? That depends upon the destination operand. Okay. So I used to tell it is, that depends upon the bit level instruction. Now this speak about what? Bit level instruction, because the destination operand is carry flag bit. Carry flag bit, right? So ANL PSW.7. The name for the carry flag bit is also PSW.7. You can access with this naming convention also. This 40H, since C is only 1-bit size, so 40H will represent bit addressable. And yesterday I have made some mistake in saying, so this is not going to represent bit address. You need to focus on the destination operand, that is carry flag bit. Based on the destination operand, the size of the destination operand, we will tell whether this address will represent the byte address or bit address. Since it is C, this is bit address. Since it is C, this is 40H is bit address. Now, what is difference between this slash and here we don't have slash? This will represent a not. Okay. So say for example, in bit addressable memory, somewhere here in the 40H you have 1. Now, not of 1 means it will take 0. And carry flag, it will take, say for example, 1. So 1 logical AND with 0. Logical AND with 0. The content, original content of 40H is 1, but it is taking not of that. So like this. So here we have mentioned here not of that bit address, content of that bit address. Okay. Next, that I already have explained here. Again, bit, right? So here it won't take any not because there is no bar here. And since bit, whatever the address we are mentioning here, 22H, it is bit addressable because the destination operand is 1 bit in size, that is carry flag bit. And it is not going to affect, here it is going to affect only carry flag bit. And in the previous, it is going to affect what? Parity flag bit. And in this case, it was going to affect the carry flag bit. Similarly, we have between direct address here, you can mention the direct address at destination operand, and here it is A register. And no flag bits will be effective for this addressing mode. Such type of addressing mode, it is not going to update. Why it is not going to update the status flag bits? Because the destination is not the CPU register. A is a CPU register, right? Since the CPU register, the result is not stored in the CPU register, but operand is accumulator, but it is source operand. It is acting as a source operand. And in this case, here it was what? C, right? And only carry flag bit, the result is stored again in the carry flag bit only. Therefore, it is affecting only carry flag bit. So now it cannot affect the parity flag bit because the result is only in one bit operation. In one bit operation, you cannot find even number of ones and zero numbers of ones. Only carry whether it is generated or not generated. So therefore, such type of instruction affects only carry flag bit. And here the destination operand is neither PSW, any of the flag bits of PSW, nor it is A register, CPU register. It is in scratchpad. In such cases, the flag bits are not affected. It won't affect, it won't update the flag bits. Even though there is a change, whether the parity, even number of ones, odd number of ones will be available, but it is not going to reflect in the PSW register because the destination operand is what? Direct memory addressing mode. It is not a PSW register or not a part of accumulator. Okay. So that is why result is not updated or not reflected in the PSW register. Similarly, here the destination operand is direct memory addressing mode. Again, the flag bits are not affected. I hope you are connecting all these things, right? Here only parity flag bit. Why it is only parity flag bit? Because if you look at the destination operand, it is accumulator, and accumulator is 8-bit register. Now once it is have 8-bit content, result is 8-bit content, then we can count the number of zeros and ones, whether number of ones as even or odd, right? So that is why parity flag bit. Here also accumulator is acting as a destination operand, therefore parity flag bit will get affected. Here it is not accumulator, here it is only a carry flag bit, a single bit, right? Destination is only a single bit, that is carry flag bit. So whether the carry generated, either it can be 0 or 1, so therefore only carry flag will be updated. So there is no question of parity, there is no question of counting ones, whether it's even in number or odd in number. So therefore parity is not affected. This is how you need to read this instruction. And there is no question of flag bits getting affected because neither it is accumulator register nor it is a part of the PSW register. Next is compare jump not equal. Okay. Now what is this compare jump not equal will do? Look at the syntax. So compare jump not equal will have three operands: operand 1, operand 2, and operand 3. Okay. I'm going to write in general format, but they have different, they have explained here with different addressing mode. But how exactly it works in the background, I will tell you with this general syntax. Compare jump not equal. What it is going to compare? It is going to compare operand 1 and operand 2. It will compare. Compare meaning that operand 1 and operand 2. Either operand 1 is greater than operand 2, or operand 1 is less than operand 2, or operand 1 is equal to operand 2. So that is the meaning of compare here, right? Jump not equal. If it is not equal, when this will not be equal, in which of the following condition? You have listed three conditions. So in the first two condition, it represents not equal. If it is greater or less, then it is not equal. If it is not equal, it needs to jump. Where it needs to jump, we need to tell the offset address also. Label we need to give. Offset address means here through the programming we are defining, we are representing with the help of a label. Label should be other than the keywords. But assembler on behalf of us as a programmer, on behalf of programmer, it will going to calculate the offset address in terms of numeric value. But we are as a programmer, we are going to mention with the naming convention, label naming convention, right? So first it will compare the first operand with the second operand. If both the operands are not equal, then where it is going to jump? It is going to jump to an offset address where we have specified as a third operand. So the third operand will represent the offset address. And how we are representing offset address? With the label name. With labeling, we are going to mention. And what should be the label name? Label name should be other than the keywords. Other than keywords, right? And what should be the size of that offset address? The offset address size must be only 8-bit. Now, what is the size of this instruction? 3. So, 1 second byte, third byte. The third byte is reserved to represent offset value. And the third byte size is 8-bit, 8-bit, 8-bit. So, only for offset, it is 8-bit. So, the offset address will be between 00 to FF only. Then, where should be the jump? The jump should be available within 256 bytes only, not 2 kilobytes. If it is 2 kilobytes, then offset, it needs to reserve 11 bits, but they have not represented here 11 bits. 11 bits, only 8 bits are there. So within 8 bits, the jump should happen within 256 bytes only. 256 bytes only. Okay, so that is the meaning of offset 8-bit, right? Now, if it is not equal, it is going to jump. If it is equal, what will happen? If it is equal, then it will go to the very next immediate address. If it is operand 1 is equal to operand 2, where it will move? It will move to the next instruction. Next instruction. How it will calculate the address of next instruction? It will take the current address plus the size of this instruction is 3 bytes. So it will add 3, and again it will update in itself. PC is equal to PC plus 3. So therefore, the next instruction is generating. So it will go to the next instruction when it is equal. Operand 1 is equal to operand 2, and it will go to the offset address when the operand 1 is not equal to operand 2, right? So now how to write the operation? First, by default, it will generate the address of the next instruction. PC is equal to PC plus 3. And here the first operand is what? Rn, the content. Indirect memory addressing mode it is. So therefore, we have written Rn in bracket. Content of that memory location pointed by register. And the second operand is immediate value. So it is going to compare whether it is less than or greater than, right? If it is lesser than or greater than, it means that it is not equal. If it is not equal, then what will be the offset? What will be the address now? PC plus offset. So it will take the current instruction address PC, and it needs to make a jump, so that offset value, and that will be updated in PC, right? Along with this, what it will do, whether operand 1 is greater than operand 2 or it is operand 1 less than operand 2. From this, we got to know that both are not equal. But operand 1 is greater than operand 2, how we will recognize? If carry flag is set to 0, then operand 1 is greater than operand 2. And when we will get carry equal to 1? If operand 1 is less than operand 2. Now remember, in this compare jump not equal, what is happening? In compare jump not equal, it will compare the first operand with the second operand, and we have different addressing modes supported, and we have the third operand as an offset address. The offset address should be within 8-bit, that is 256 bytes. If it is not equal, it will go to the offset address PC plus offset, and if it is equal, then it will go to the next immediate instruction with the help of PC plus 3. And when it is not equal, it is making the program control transfer also, and it is also giving the indication whether the operand 1 is greater than operand 2 or less. If it is 1, carry flag bit is 1, then it indicates that operand 1, carry flag is 1, it will get updated. And what we need to understand from this, we will understand that operand 1 is less than operand 2. And after the execution of this, if we go and check the status of carry flag bit and we find 0, and this what is 0 indicates here, operand 1 is greater than operand 2. So that is the meaning of compare jump not equal. And here the operand 1 is register indirect and operand 2 is immediate, and in this operand 1 is accumulator, that is register, and operand 2 is immediate. And in this case, operand 1 is accumulator and operand 2 is direct, and here register and here it is immediate. So only this change, but the content remains same, the principle remains same everywhere. The only operand 1 access and operand 2 access, that depends upon the addressing mode. Either it can be immediate, or it can be a register, or it can be register indirect, or direct memory addressing. What it will do, whatever be the content of that operand, that content will get 0. Say for example, we have an 8-bit register, so the content will be forced to become 0. That is the meaning of clear. Now which we can do, clear A. So accumulator content will be clear, and only parity flag bit will be updated, since because it is no carry generated or not auxiliary flag bit or not overflow. So only parity flag bit will be updated. Then clear bit, clear bit. So what is this bit now? If I represent clear 01H, CLR 01H. So only that particular bit will be clear. And this clear, they have not written here as direct. They have not written direct. Okay. If they could have written CLR direct, then it is direct memory addressing mode, and this address will represent what? Byte address. Now they have represented here as clear bit, means bit level address you need to give. So clear 01. It will go to bit addressable memory. In that, which address? 01. That particular bit content will be forced to become 0. If it is already 0, it will still remain 0. If it was 1, then it will be forced to become 0. Then similarly, clear carry flag bit. Okay, CLR C, carry flag bit. So you can clear accumulator, you can clear any bit addresses between 00 to 7F, only bit addresses, not byte addresses, only bit addresses, and you can clear the carry flag bit. We have is complement. Complement means what? There in clear we used to force it to become 0, and here it is complement, means if the content is 0, it will make it change to 1. If the content, original content was 1, then we will make it change to 0. So that is the meaning of complement. Again, you can complement the content of A, you can complement the content of bit addressable, or you can complement what? Carry flag bit. Again, here you don't have complement byte address, you don't have that, you must remember. Next is decimal adjustment after addition. Decimal adjustment after addition. Now when we will take this decimal adjustment after addition, say for example, when I'm adding 5, okay, so when we are into BCD number system, binary coded decimal number system, and but we have feeded 5 as one number and 6 as one number. Now what is 5 plus 6 now? System will give 5 plus 6 as 11, and it will represent it as B, but B is not a BCD. B is not a BCD. Now what answer it needs to show? Answer it needs to show is 5 plus 6 was in BCD, it should be 11. Like this it needs to show. So, but when we perform addition between 5 plus 6, the answer was showing it as B. It won't show 11, right? Because it is in machine language, and the results will be available in hexadecimal. But B is not a BCD. So therefore, after performing addition, right, you can make use of DA instruction to make the adjustment. Roll back to the BCD format. Say for example, I have taken 5 plus 6, the answer was showing B. After B, after the addition, what you can do, you can calculate, you can use DA instruction. Decimal adjustment after addition. After addition, only addition, okay? After addition. So now what we can do is, what is the logic it will take? So 5 plus 6 I have taken, now it was showing B, and it will take this B, it will check whether it is greater than 9. If it is greater than 9 or an auxiliary flag bit is generated, then it will add plus 6 to this. Now B plus 6, how much it is? B plus 6. After B, you need to add 6. After B, it is C, D, E, F, 1, 0, 1, 1. So it will generate 1, 1. So this here is decrement instruction. In decrement instruction, why we use decrement? If you want to decrement the value by 1, right? So here decrement, always it will decrement value by factor 1 only. Okay, minus 1 it is. Again, we have different addressing mode. Register indirect addressing mode. You have decrement A register, decrement RN register, right? So either you can write decrement R0, or you can write decrement R7, or you can decrement accumulator, or you can decrement the memory location whose address is pointed by R0 indirectly, right? Or you can decrement 20H content also. It can go to the memory location 20H direct memory address, and it can decrement whatever the value by 1. So that is the idea of decrement. Then we have division. As we have, while discussing the SFR register, we have listed 21 SFR register. Out of 21 SFR register, we have discussed PSW register, SP register, and A register, accumulator register. How this accumulator register is coming into picture, right? So it is one of the CPU register. Okay. And also in CPU register, we have noted B register also. Now, what is the purpose of B register? Till this discussion, we have never came across what? B register. Now the B register will play the role in division instruction and multiply instruction. In division and multiply, right? So now why it is playing a role in division? Because when you perform a division operation, you have two answers. One is your quotient, and the other answer is a remainder. The other answer is a remainder. Okay. So where the division instruction will divide the 8-bit integer in the accumulator by unsigned 8-bit integer in register B. So denominator should be in B and numerator should be in accumulator register. And after the division, the quotient where it is going to store, quotient will be stored in accumulator and remainder will be stored in B register. So that is the idea why we have one more CPU register called a B register. And this we will have, this is required when we perform division, right? And the B register value should not be 0. Denominator cannot be 0. If it is division by 0, then an overflow flag will be used to indicate that division by 0 is used, right? So that is the meaning of overflow flag bit here. So overflow flag bit will be affected here, and this overflow flag bit is used to identify whether the denominator is 0, right? Divide by 0. If overflow flag bit is set to 1, then it indicates that so division denominator has become 0. Denominator has become 0. Next, we have seen a decrement, and that decrement was unconditional. Just decrement without checking any condition. We have another decrement instruction in 8051, which is conditional. Conditional. So decrement, jump, if it is non-zero. Decrement, jump, non-zero. Now, what is decrement, jump, non-zero? It is going to decrement. What it is going to decrement? It is having two operands, operand 1 and operand 2. Our normal decrement instruction used to have only operand 1. You don't have operand 2, right? But in decrement, jump, non-zero, in conditional decrement, you have two operands. One operand, the first operand, whose value needs to be decrement, and what is the second operand going to mention? The second is operand is going to mention an offset address, right? based on the condition, right? So now this is a 3-byte instruction, 3-byte instruction, 1, 2, 3. The third is used for representing offset address. The second byte is used to represent the operand 1. Since here the addressing mode is direct memory addressing mode, it is mentioning here, and this is encoding scheme. Now after decrement jump non-zero, what it is going to do? Sorry, it is not +2, it should be +3. It will generate what? The address of the next instruction. How it will generate the address of the next instruction? Current value of PC plus the size of the instruction. The size of the instruction is 3. So it is going to add 3. Okay, by misprint it is 2. So you make it 3. Then it will decrement the operand 1 value. So operand 1 value is direct memory addressing mode. It will go to that memory location whose address is pointed in the instruction itself. That content memory location, it will decrement by 1, and again it will store back into the same memory address. And that memory address content, now it is compared with 0, whether it is greater or lesser than 0. If it is non-zero, then only it will go to jump, otherwise it will go to the next immediate instruction. Okay, so say for example decrement jump non-zero 40h comma label. So this is label can be anywhere in the program, and that label should not cross more than 256 bytes, because the offset value should be only maximum FF, that is 256 bytes. Then what we are going to do now, it will go to the memory location. Say for example in 40h location, this is part of 40h is a part of which RAM it is? General purpose RAM, register bank, or bit addressable, or scratchpad. 40h, can anybody tell me? 40h is a part of which section of RAM?
Sir.
Scratchpad. So in scratchpad I will take this as 25h. Content is 25h. Now if I write decrement jump non-zero 40h, it will go to 40h and it will take this content 25 and it will decrement by 1. It will become 24. Is 24 non-zero? It will ask. So it is non-zero, right? If it is non-zero, then PC is equal to what it will do? PC plus this label it will add, offset value it will add, and there will be program control transfer. Say in case, now this was 1, 40h content, say for example 40h content is 1. So again it will go to 40h content 1, and again it will decrement it by 1, less by 1. Now it is 0. Now this is 0. If it is 0, then it is not going to jump to the offset value. PC plus offset it won't. So where it will go? PC plus 3 it will go. Why we are adding 3? Because the size of that instruction is 3 bytes. Next, the condition, this principle remains same, only the addressing mode will change. Here the operand 1 is what? Operand 1 is direct memory addressing mode. Here the operand is register addressing mode. Then comes increment. There in decrement, what we have done, we have subtracted by 1 factor the content in decrement. In increment, we are going to add 1. Again, we have different addressing mode, and this increment is unconditional. Without any condition, whatever the operand, only one operand we are going to mention. Whether that operand is register indirect or accumulator or direct memory addressing mode or DPTR. So what is this DPTR? It also, but you cannot decrement DPTR. That is not possible to do, but you can increment the DPTR. So what is this DPTR? Data pointer register. In pointer register, we have listed, right? In SFR, out of 21, one of the register was DPH and DPL. Both together, we used to call it as data pointer register. When this data pointer register is used, when we are going to interface a larger memory more than 256, okay? Maximum we can go up to, this is 8-bit, this is 8-bit, total 16-bit, up to 16-bit, I can generate the pointer register up to 64 kilobytes of memory. 64 kilobytes of memory. So you can increment that data pointer register also. And here it is register addressing mode. Now next instruction is, I'm going in alphabetic order. Next instruction is jump. Now what is this jump will do? So remember this jump instruction we have discussed. This is unconditional jump instruction. Jump JB. Now this is conditional. This is conditional. Now what it will go and do? The jump JB instruction branches to the address specified in the second operand if the value of bit specified in the first operand is 1. The bit that is tested is not modified. So it is not going to modify that one. Only it will just test whether it is 0 or 1. No flags are affected by this instruction. Now, what is the size of this instruction? Look at this, 3. One is for opcode. The second one is for operand 1. And the third one is for operand 2. Operand 2 is offset. Operand 1 is the bit. So jump bit means here you need to give the bit address. Bit address. Say for example, jump if bit. Which bit we need to test it? So that bit number you need to specify here. Say for example, I can test port 1.2 means second bit of port 1 where I'm going to test whether it is 0 or 1. If it is 1, then you need to go to this offset address. Or we are going to give offset address with the help of label names. Whether to go to this offset address, yes or no, that depends upon the status of this port 1.2, whether it is 0 or 1. If it is 1, then only it will go to the offset address. Otherwise, it will go to the immediate instruction after the jump bit instruction. So whatever the instruction we have. So first it will calculate the next address, that is PC is equal to PC plus 3. PC is equal to PC plus 3. Again, then it will test the bit now, whether the content of that bit is equal to 1. If it is equal to 1, then it will recalculate the PC value. PC is equal to PC plus offset. So the previous calculation will be ignored. It is updated. PC first by default, it will generate what? PC is equal to PC plus 3. Whether to follow this or not, that depends upon this condition. If a condition meet, then it will update with a new PC is equal to PC plus offset. Otherwise, it will not update PC is equal to PC plus offset. So whatever the assumption they have made, PC is equal to PC plus 3, that it is going to execute. Okay, so you can even write like this, jump bit. Here you can give bit address also. Select 21H, 21H, comma label. Now what is this 21H? It is a bit addressable memory location. So it will go to the 21H bit addressable location. In that particular location, it will check whether it is 0 or 1. If it is 1, it will generate PC is equal to PC plus offset. It will jump to the offset address. Otherwise, it will go to the very immediate next instruction followed by jump bit. Jump bit. Don't read this as B register. Okay. So don't read it as B register. It represents bit. Jump if bit. Similarly, we have JBC. So now what is this instruction will do? Again, it will branches to the address which is specified in the second operand if the value of the bit specified in the first operand is 1. Otherwise, it continues to the next instruction. Now look at this. Again, the same thing what we are going to do here. JBC, PC is equal to PC plus 3. If bit is equal to 1, if it is equal to 1, then what it is going to do? It is going to transfer the program counter. In addition to that, what it is doing? Can you look at this? This is extra. Compare this one. Here, jump bit, right? Here, what we have, the same principle we are following, this extra C. And what is this extra C means here? This extra C means here clear. In earlier case, say for example, jump port 1.2. Say for example, port 1.2 content is, say for example, 1. Now it will go to port 1.2. If it is 1, it is going to jump to the offset address, right? And if it is not equal to 1. If it is 0, it is going to the next immediate address. Now look at this 1. So 1 is unchanged. It is going to test only that particular bit, only testing. Only testing. If it is 1, it will go to offset address. If it is not 1, it will go to the immediate next instruction. Immediate next instruction. But this factor is not going to be updated. It remains unchanged. But in this case, what is happening is, if I consider again port JBC, port 1.2 comma label, so whatever the label it is, port 1.2 content is 1, it will test it. Jump if it is bit, it will go to the offset address. Before it goes to offset address, this content it will force to make it clear. It will become 0. It will become 0. If the port 1.2 content is 0, so it won't go to the offset address. It will go to the next instruction. It will go to the next instruction because the condition fails here. So there is no bit in this. It is 0. But if it is 1.2, if the bit is 1, it needs to go to the offset address. Before it goes to the offset address, it will force this to become clear. So that is the meaning of jump bit and clear. Jump bit and clear. So now look at this. By default, first it will calculate the address of the next instruction. It will test the condition. After testing the condition, if this becomes true, then it will force that bit to become 0, and then it will go to the offset address. PC is equal to PC plus offset. I hope you have understood the difference between JB and JBC. So C means here clear. So it is not complement, clear it is. It is forcing to become 0. Jump carry. Jump carry. And it is not difficult. If you revise this PPT once or twice, look 2-3 times, listen to my YouTube channel, and you will get comfortable after third read. Jump carry. The name itself says here the carry flag bit is checked. In jump bit, we are going to check any bit. Say, for example, port 2.0, port 2.1, right? PSW dot RS1. We can check any bit, or you can give or we can give JB 22H, 22H, right? So 22H means what? It is bit addressable. It will go to that particular location and it can check. But here we are mentioning it as jump C, jump and check the carry flag bit only, carry flag bit, right? So what is the size of the instruction? 2 bytes. And what is the syntax? JC label. So you don't have 2 operands there, only 1 operand is there, and that operand specifies the offset value. Why? Because which bit it is going to check? It is only the carry flag bit. It is not going to change carry flag bit. So that is the meaning of JC. Look at the operation. It will generate the address of the next instruction. PC is equal to PC plus 2. Carry flag bit is tested. If it is 1, it will go to offset address. Otherwise, it will go to the immediate instruction. Jump instruction, it is unconditional. Unput X plus Y, and it will generate what? A new address. And that new address is X plus Y. It will go to that address. It is going to point to that address. So that is A plus DPTR. PC will be get updated with A plus DPTR, and there is no condition tested here. So therefore it is unconditional, and we have only one format available. You cannot write like this: jump at the rate of R0 plus DPTR. So you don't have such instructions. Only A plus DPTR is allowed. So therefore they have restricted the size of this instruction as 1 byte, because A implicitly we are mentioning within the instruction, DPTR is also implicitly mentioned. So there is no operand required here. It is implicitly mentioned within the instruction itself. So therefore it is 1 byte. And that 1 byte itself is used to represent opcode. And there is no bits reserved for what? Operand. Because we don't have operand. So don't consider it as operand. It is within that same instruction only. Jump at the rate of A plus DPTR. The complete instruction it is. So there is no operands mentioned for this instruction. And this is such type of instructions are not allowed. Okay. Only A plus DPTR is allowed, and there is no operand for that. That is why this instruction has only 1 byte. And JNB. So JNB instruction branches to the specified address if the specified bit operand has what? A value 0, right? Now, how you need to read this instruction? If you have understood JB, now what is this JB instruction used to do? JB instruction used to test what? Jump bit, and bit which bit you need to test, you need to give that, and then you need to give the offset address, right? So something like back label you need to give. And here, if this bit is 1, then it is going to jump. But means if this port 2.0 is 1, then only it will go to offset address. Otherwise, it will go to the immediate. Now here it is reverse. Jump no bit, what it will do in jump no bit, it will test for what? Whether that bit is 0 or wrong. In jump bit, it will test for 1. Here it will test for 0. You can look at the operation. Jump if that particular bit is 0. This is not assignment, comparison it is. Like this it is. Bit equal to 0. Relational operator it is, not assignment. We are not assigning 0 to this. Don't read in the previous slide also. It is comparative statement. Relational operator it is. Okay. So if bit, that particular bit is equal to 0, then it will go to the offset address. Otherwise, it will not go to the offset address, and it will go to the immediate instruction address, which is PC is equal to PC plus 3. Right? So jump no bit is reverse of jump bit. Similarly, we have studied what? Jump carry. Right? So there you used to test whether the carry flag bit is 1 or not. Here, no carry means we are testing whether the carry flag bit is equal to 0. Okay. The same as of reverse of jump carry. And here it is no carry. Whether the carry is generated or not, we have tested here. And here we are checking whether the carry is not generated. Jump no carry. Similarly, how this jump carry works, similarly we have for other flag bits also. 0 flag bit, directly it is 0 flag bit. Okay. If it is greater than or lesser than 0, then it is non-zero. Therefore, it will go to the offset address. Otherwise, it will go to the immediate instruction. Jump non-zero. Similarly, we have jump 0. Jump 0. It will check. This instruction will help you to test whether the accumulator content is 0 or not. Okay. How it is going to test? 0 flag bit it is going to test. Here I have told, right? Carry flag bit you have, auxiliary flag bit you have, overflow flag bit you have, and then we have a parity flag bit. Parity flag bit. 0 flag bit is not there. But how it is testing 0 flag bit? With accumulator content. Only accumulator register content it will test. Whether accumulator is 0 or non-zero. If it is 0, then it is 0 flag bit. As if you have a 0 flag bit over there. If it is non-zero. So 0 flag bit in some microcontroller, we have 0 flag bit as a status flag bit. But here in 8051, they have not given direct 0 flag bit. Instead of that, they are telling us to compare what? Accumulator content. Only accumulator content. No other register, it will verify whether that register content is 0. Only accumulator content is 0 or non-zero. That is the meaning. Okay. So in 8051, you don't have 0 flag bit. Indirectly, they have connected to accumulator. Then you have long call, same as that of absolute call. We have started with absolute call discussion. Similarly, we have long call. Now, what is long call? The difference between absolute call and long call? In absolute call, the address was only 11 bit, and using 11 bit, you can go up to 2 KB of the range. And here you are going to mention 16-bit address. 16-bit address. So therefore, your call subroutine can locate anywhere between 64 kilobytes of range. 64 kilobytes of range. Only that is the difference. The rest of the operations are same. Long jump, right? So already we have seen a jump, that is absolute jump. Again, here the difference is 16-bit address. 16-bit address. So anywhere within 64 kilobytes, the jump can happen. In absolute jump, it is 2 KB. Then next instruction, this is very important instruction, move instruction, because many times we use this move instruction. Now, what is move instruction do? It will copy the content from one memory location to another memory location. And we have various addressing modes available here. One of the addressing mode is the register indirect addressing mode and immediate. Say, for example, move R0 at the rate of R0, comma, #0. Now, what is this means? It will go to R0, say content of R0 is 10H, then it will point to 10H memory location, and 0 will be copied into that 10H memory location. Indirectly, we are telling. So we are copying 0 where? To the memory location whose address is pointed by R0. So first it will go to R0. R0 is specifying an address because it is acting as a pointer register. It will go to 10H memory location and it will copy 0 over there. So that is move instruction. Similarly, you can copy the accumulator content into the memory location whose address is pointed by pointer register. So this is what? So accumulator is copied where? To the memory location whose address is pointed by Ri. Either Ri can be R0 or R1. Then it supports what? Even this addressing mode. You can mention the direct memory address. So that content of the memory location whose address is mentioned in the directly within the instruction to the memory location whose address is pointed by register. So from one memory location to another memory location, you can copy the content. You can copy the immediate value into accumulator. You can copy from the indirect memory location. So you can copy the content of memory location whose address is pointed by Ri into accumulator. Even this is also possible. From direct memory location, the content of memory location whose address is specified directly within the instruction into the accumulator. And from register to accumulator also it supports. And also you can copy, move a particular bit also. Even a bit also you can copy, right? So various addressing mode here you can move into DPTR also. You can move the immediate value into Rn like this, right? So you can move the direct memory location content into the register. So these many addressing modes the move instruction supports, right? So starting from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So there are 18 ways to move the content of one location into another location. So we have many ways to move the content. So you must concentrate on move instruction more. Then you have, that was normal move, right? Now we have a special move, that is move C. Now what is this move C? What is move C? The move C instruction moves a byte from the code or program memory to the accumulator. Now what was that move instruction was doing? Our normal move instruction, it was copying from where? Data memory, that is our RAM. Okay. Now move C means if you want to move the data from the code memory, within the code memory, then we need to use a special move called move C. The C represent, it is a code memory. It indicates it is a code memory, right? So now how to access the code memory? With the help of this. At the rate of A plus DPTR, you can access the code memory with the help of a pointer register, right? We have what? Pointer register. If you want to point the RAM, you can do with the help of at the rate of R0, at the rate of R1, or if it is more RAM, right, 64 kilobytes, then we can use at the rate of DPTR. So all these are related to what? RAM only. We are pointing to RAM location. Now, how to point a program memory? So which register is used as a pointer register? Then you need to say for code memory, the pointer register is the combination of A plus DPTR. You cannot use alone DPTR, or you cannot alone use the A. The combination of A plus DPTR will act as a pointer to the code memory, program memory. Okay. Then different types of addressing modes. You have A plus DPTR, and the second option you have is at the rate of A plus PC. So this is another way to point to the code memory. One is A plus DPTR, the other is A plus PC. This is option number 1. Option number 2. Remember, if you want to move a copy, right, of from the code memory, you want to get the data from the program memory and into the SFR register, but SFR register is only a register. You cannot move into R0. You cannot move only into R0. You need to move only in accumulator. From accumulator, you can put into any other register. Then move X. Now we have normal move instruction which discuss only to data memory. Move C to bring the data from the code memory into accumulator, and you have move X. Now what is this move X deals with? The move X deals with the external data memory. Okay, so the data exchange will happen between accumulator and external data memory. Our normal move instruction will happen between accumulator and our general purpose RAM or SFR, right? Between the RAM and accumulator or immediate value, we have various in the move. Move C between accumulator and program memory. Now move X, this instruction is used to exchange the data between where? Accumulator and external memory. Not internal RAM we are talking about, external memory. Okay, when we have an external memory, then we can use move X, right? So here, if your external RAM will be maximum, it can be 64 kilobytes. Okay, external RAM, it can be maximum 64 kilobytes. So therefore we can use DPTR most of the time. But if your external RAM is less than or maximum 256 bytes, then also I can make use of R0 and R1 as a pointer register to point external memory. So remember, so external memory you can point with DPTR, which is mostly commonly by DPTR only. Even you can point using R0 and R1, but the maximum will be only 256. So that will become restriction if you use R0 and R1, because the size of R0 and R1 is 8-bit only. 8-bit only.
Sir, in that case, every register size is 8-bit only, no, sir?
No, DPTR size is 16-bit.
Okay, sir.
DPTR is DPL plus DPH. In SFR, we have mentioned, right? DPH, DPL. So it is 16-bit. So therefore, I'm saying most of the time during programming, we use DPTR only. Rarely we use R0 and R1. Rarely we use R0, R1. When to use R0 and R1? If your addresses are within 255 only, maximum 255, 0 to 255, the count is 256. If you cross beyond that, then you cannot use R0 or R1 as a pointer register to point external memory, because the maximum value is 8-bit, 250. But DPTR is 16-bit in size. So you can go up to F. And if you put into figure, then it is from 0 to 65,535. Count will be 65,536. So that is used to represent 64 kilobytes. 64 kilobytes. Okay. In accumulator, operand 2 will be multiplier and multiplicand will be either in A, right? So now what it is saying, that the instruction multiplies with accumulator content and with the B register, and it will produce what? Either you consider A as multiplicand and B as multiplier, or B as multiplicand, A as multiplier. anything, A into B. So A multiplied by B, the product, this is 8-bit maximum, this will be also 8-bit, but the product will cross more than 8-bit. So it will be greater than 8-bit. Maximum it can go up to 16-bit. And how we are storing the product? We are storing the product in B and A. Say for example, you are in A, you have I can take this as 128, and here I can take it as 2. Okay, can I store 128 in A? Answer is yes, because the maximum capacity it has is 255, 8-bit. And B, we can store 2. Now you multiply 128 into 2, it is 256. But can we store 256 in A? Answer is no, right? Now how the product, now the product has crossed more than 8-bit. The product has crossed more than 8-bit. 256 is contain more than 8-bit. Okay, so now what it will do, it will store like this. 256, if you convert into hexadecimal, the answer will be 100H. 100H. So 00H will be stored in accumulator, and the 01H it will be stored in B, right? And what is the maximum product we can store? Maximum product we can store H in accumulator and H in B register. So total it will be the maximum product, it should not cross 65,535. The product should be between 0 and 65,535. So that is the limit. When if it crosses this value, then it will set what? Overflow flag bit. So that is all about multiplication. So you can consider A as multiplier or A as multiplicand or B as a no operation. You can use what? No operation. Right? Nothing it will do. Just it will increment, it will go to the next instruction. PC is equal to PC plus 1. So move X at the rate of Ri. So accumulator content